Sup, guys? Sode back with you as usual. As always, it is Monday, March 24th. My father's 70th birthday, by the way. So happy birthday to him. We're all getting ridiculously old. Yesterday did not go well for me. 1-3. I need to hit this late month surge, man. I've had late month surges in both January and February to get me up on the year. Get me up, baby. But now I think we're slightly down on the year right now. This is just not going well. I don't know what else to tell you. We started out nice yesterday with a nice, easy underdog money line cash on the Chicago Blackhawks, and then everything spiraled from there as we had the over in the Illinois-Kentucky game, and it got fairly close. I think it got to within several points of hitting the over towards the end. Didn't get there. The game needed to be closer, really, so the teams were fouling down the stretch and whatever, but Illinois they did not score enough early in the game. They started out way too slow, and that really kind of put the whole thing in a hole, and that was about it. I didn't expect that. I expected fast starts from both teams. That one did not work out. And then UC Irvine in the late night college basketball, they had a double-digit lead early in the game. They had multiple leads that were of decent size, and they just couldn't put it away. They kept letting whoever their opponent was, I don't even remember, come back in the game repeatedly. And it just could never pull away. They wound up winning and not covering, and they missed the cover by like 2 points. So that's extremely irritating as well. And then the NBA play didn't really have that much of a shot. Philadelphia 76ers, though, they did only miss by like 3 points on that huge spread there, but they were just out of the game the whole time. They kind of hung around because they were pretty close to that number, but it didn't get there. We have to move on to today, as we always do. We move on, we grind. We have a short card today, man. We do have college basketball today, but it is only the second round of the CBI tournament. And now with these tournaments, every one of these games is in Daytona Beach at the Ocean Center. So what I like to say about these tournaments is what I like to say about, well, I say it in the main tournament. You tend to want to look towards teams that already played a game in this tournament because they're playing in the same venue, so they already got familiar with that venue. They already got that game out of the way, so they have momentum. And that would be Incarnate Word, Army, and Queens. They all played already. They all advanced. I just don't want a part of any of them, man. And the line is moving against every single one of them. Jacksonville, the line is up from 2 to 3.5. And with this game being in Daytona Beach, Jacksonville probably will have some sort of crowd there because they're the closest geographically out of all these teams. Incarnate Word also is just not a good defensive team, so I just don't trust them, so I can't do that. Army, they pulled off a big comeback. I think they were getting pretty much blown out by Elon, and all these games are yesterday, by the way, so these teams are playing on back-to-backs, although having such an amount of rest coming into the tournament, I don't think playing one game really tires you out. I think having one game under your belt really just kind of gives you a little bit of momentum, but Army, the way that they came back against Elon, it was like a huge, furious late comeback. I think they might actually be tired after that game, so I don't want any part of them either. Florida Gulf Coast is the better team. I mean, they're up from 8.5 to 9 with juice here, so money coming in on both these favorites that haven't played yet. Florida Gulf Coast also sort of probably has a geographical advantage, even though they're kind of across the state from where this is. And then Queens also won yesterday against Northern Arizona. I forget who Incarnate Word even beat yesterday. I think they might have, or they beat Illinois State. I think Queens against Cleveland State. Cleveland State's up from Pick'em to 3 with juice. These are two teams I've been saying about both of them all year that they're both overrated. So I don't want to deal with either of these teams, man. I'm just going to pass on the game. This might be the one where you might argue that Queens has the biggest advantage after yesterday because they are at least kind of similar to Cleveland State in that they're both just they're both okay teams, and they're both somewhat overrated, but I still don't want to do it. And Cleveland State also slows the pace down. Queens likes to go fast, so there's a big pacing mismatch there that I don't like, that I think the advantage would go to the slowdown team in Cleveland State. So I'm not going to get involved in any of those. The money's coming in on all three favorites that haven't played yet in the tournament. We move over to NHL. We have 4 games here. Vancouver is at New Jersey. Vancouver, I mean, they're still kind of fighting to try to stay in the playoff race here, I think, at this point. I forget what do the standings look like. Let me see. Vancouver, where are we at? Vancouver is 1 point or no, excuse me, 5 points out of the wild card right now behind St. Louis. So probably kind of desperation mode Vancouver here, and they've lost 2 games in a row. So I think they may be pretty focused coming into this, whereas New Jersey, even though they are playing a third game in 4 days, or excuse me, a third straight road game in 5 days, though. So they have had a break between each game. New Jersey is more secure in their playoff spot right now, though they have also lost 2 in a row. But I think what you're going to be looking at here is Vancouver's going to be an underdog here, and they're the more desperate teams. That might be the way that I would kind of lean in this game. Let me see. Come on, man. Load the NHL. I'm going to have to refresh. Of course, the JavaScript or something isn't working here. So New Jersey's down from minus 165 to minus 150, although they do have 67% of the tickets, 96% of the cash. They do have the cash coming in on them, but the money line has moved in the direction of Vancouver. I agree with the move in that one and not the cash percentage. Not playing the game. Columbus and the Islanders, both of these teams are struggling right now, and they're both trying to get a wild card spot, man, but they're both behind right now. So both of these teams are kind of in desperation mode here. So they're both probably going to show up here. Columbus has lost 6 games in a row, including their last game, losing horribly to Pittsburgh. I played Pittsburgh in that game because it was a back-to-back for Columbus off an overtime game against Florida. It was not a good spot. This might be a better spot for them, as now they have 2 days off to kind of try to break that losing momentum. So I don't mind the spot for Columbus coming into this one. The Islanders just lost a win streak that they had. So I think the Islanders are in a bit of a worse spot, because when you have a win streak going on and then you lose it, it can kind of hang you over a little bit into the next game to some extent. And they did also play the last 2 games into overtime, although losing to Calgary is not great, not impressive. And the Islanders will have Sorokin back in net here most likely, as they had Hogberg, or Hoberg, however you pronounce it, in net in the last game. He is their lesser goalie, so they will be going back with Sorokin there. So that's at least somewhat of a positive for the Islanders. Islanders down from minus 145 to minus 137. Those 71% of tickets on them, but 53% of the cash coming in on Columbus. So we do have the Islanders being kind of a public favorite here with what looks like reverse line movement going against them in the other direction. So I agree with the market on that one as well. I would slightly lean to Columbus. Minnesota and Dallas. And again, the odds makers yet again telling you Minnesota's an overrated team, as Dallas is a huge favorite, but they are down from minus 230 to minus 210. And I do think the spot isn't as good for Dallas here. Dallas, I think they've played like 3 or 4 straight overtime games. Yeah, they played 4 overtime games in a row. So they may be starting to get a little bit tired, and they do have Edmonton up next, which is a quick revenge spot as well, because they did just lose at Edmonton 5-4 back on March 8th. So that's a big game against Edmonton. Not that Minnesota's not a big game, but it is possible that in this spot they just don't have their A game in this one. Minnesota, I mean, both of these teams are going to make the playoffs, so there's no real desperation for either team here. Minnesota's got some nice momentum right now. Last couple of games, they only beat Seattle and Buffalo, so those are pretty easy wins. And now they have this one road game to Dallas, where I don't think they're going to overlook Dallas. I mean, you don't overlook one of the best teams in hockey. So I do lean to Minnesota slightly here, and it looks like maybe Fleury will be in net here because Gustafsson has played 6 straight games. But even if Fleury's in net, I don't know that that's really going to be that much of a negative, even though he is the worst of the 2 goalies, and he's old. But I would still lean to Minnesota in that one. The game that I actually have, this is my only play today, and it's an ugly underdog here on the Detroit Red Wings plus 140. I like the spot for them. I think Utah's public here. Utah sitting at minus 160. 75% of tickets, only 52% of the cash. So the cash percentage looks like it's much less on Utah, which indicates that the bigger bets are on the Detroit side. Because if you see I think I never really explained this thoroughly. I think my early videos I have, but the reason I look at these ticket and cash percentages, although these are still moving all over the place in the morning, but the ticket percentage is just pure, this is the number of bets on this side, but the cash percentage is what the amount of money is. So if you see less of the cash on a particular team than the percentage of tickets, that means that the majority, smaller bets are on that team, which kind of means that they're public. And it does mean that the bigger bets, the smaller quantity but larger money bets, are on the other side. So that's that's one of the indicators that we use here. But I like Detroit in this spot, man. I mean, both of these teams are kind of in desperation mode at this point, as they're both 5-6 points out of the playoff hunt right now. So looking pretty desperate, but Detroit has lost a ton of games recently, man. They've lost 9 of their last 11 games, coming off another ugly loss, even though I know it was to Vegas, but they need to win something, man. They've lost 2 games on the road here, but I think going from Vegas to Utah isn't really that much travel. I know they do have to go into elevation for this, but I think you're going to see a focused Detroit team here. Talbot was in net for the last game, so you're going to get Mrazek back in net here, which is a positive. I think because he is the better of the 2 goalies right now, I think, although he's really been just the guy that's played recently, but Mrazek is the guy that's gotten them the only 2 wins in that that span where they've lost 9 of 11. Mrazek was in net for the only 2 that they won, so that's somewhat of a positive. I think you're going to get him back in net for this one. Talbot was their better goaltender for a while, but it looks like Mrazek is going to be the guy. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. So I think it's a positive spot. I think this Detroit team is going to be focused after giving up 10 goals in the last 2 games there against good teams, Washington and Vegas. So they are also stepping down in class here to face a Utah team that's not as good as those teams. Utah is still fighting for the playoffs, and I mentioned that was a factor in why I liked Utah in that game against Tampa Bay. But now they came off that big win over Tampa Bay, and they have Tampa Bay again up next, which now they have just Detroit sandwiched in there. And these are both Eastern Conference teams, so I don't know if they're really going to pay as much attention to Detroit as they do to Tampa Bay or Florida. So even though they do need to win to try to get into the playoffs here, I think Detroit is kind of it's a bit of a sandwich spot, I think, for them. It's a Tampa Bay sandwich, whatever they eat in Tampa. Do they eat Cubanos? I have no idea. But it looks like a bad spot for Utah. I mean, Detroit is on the losing streak. They're the more desperate team to try to break this losing momentum, whereas Utah's been playing better hockey as of late. So I want to actually jump in front of both those trains and try to fade those sentiments and expect some regression here. I don't know what Utah's been doing either, because Vejmelka has played every game that they've played since February 23rd onwards. So this guy's got to be getting tired. They haven't used a different goalie in a month. I don't know how a goalie could play an entire month. I mean, good on him, I guess. He's a warrior, and they haven't done that bad in that span. But at some point, they got to use a different goalie, right? So you're either going to have a really tired Vejmelka here, even though that should have been my argument for the last game, even though I played Utah in the last game. But I think you're either going to get a tired Vejmelka or you're going to get some second-string goalie in this one. So give me Detroit in that game. That is the only play that I have today. And it's not very, it's not pretty. It's not sexy. I mean, it's an underdog as well. So an underdog at that price, you don't even expect to win every single one of those. You only need to hit like less than 50% of those to profit. So it's just the way that it is. And then we have NBA here, Minnesota and Indiana. This is an interesting one. I mean, Minnesota won for me the other night with that zigzag spot where they crushed the Pelicans after they lost the Pelicans the game before that. Somewhat inexplicably, but the game prior to that, they lost in overtime to Indiana at home. So this is a quick road revenge spot for Minnesota. So I think Minnesota will be a little bit extra focused for that reason. But both of these teams are trying to fight to make they're fighting for playoff seeding, as Minnesota's trying to stay out of the play-in, I think. That's how stacked the Western Conference is. And Indiana is trying to get themselves a home series in the playoffs, I think. So these teams both have something to play for here. Minnesota might have a little bit extra just because it is that quick turnaround road revenge spot, which is a decent motivator. Indiana's not going to overlook them, though, so I'm not going to play this game. It looks like Halliburton did come back, and he's probably going to – we're going to see his minutes increase a little bit. And Indiana didn't play well against Brooklyn the last 2 games, only beating them in overtime in one game where – that was the game where I was on Indiana, and they were losing the whole game, so that was a bad loss. They still won in overtime and almost covered, which is ridiculous. And then they barely beat Brooklyn again the game after that. But they're still, that's going to help them continue their winning momentum, at least coming into this, and they know they didn't play that well. So I think it's a positive spot for both teams, so I don't want to get involved. Pacers up from a pick 'em to a 2-point favorite there. So the line movement has come in on the Pacers. The Lakers, what it looks like to me is that LeBron, I don't know if LeBron is coming back yet or not, so you've got to pay attention, see if LeBron is coming back or not, because if he does, I might want to look to fade the Lakers because it would be that reverse injured player spot. And I always talk about this. When a star player goes down, the team plays really well in his stead in that first game. But then after that, they kind of start like lapsing again because they don't have their star player. But then when he comes back, you have to like work him back in, and there's like, you have to get used to him playing again. There are like chemistry issues. He has to get like back in, game condition again. Basically, well, he's already in game condition, but you know what I mean? He has to get used to playing again. So sometimes you see a bit of a slow start. Their team's a little bit slow to get back to like having that chemistry again with that player. So you do want to fade a team more often than not when that star player comes back. LeBron might be coming back in this game, but I don't want to fade the Lakers when they're coming off losing by 31 points at home to the Chicago Bulls. And at home, they lost by 19 in the previous game, 29 to Milwaukee. So I don't want to do it, man. Lakers coming off massive, embarrassing games. One of the best things you can do if you have a couple embarrassing losses like that is to leave home, not listen to the media, just fly across the country, go on the road, start a road trip. That will help you focus. So if LeBron does come back, I still don't want to play on the reverse injured player spot here because I think the Lakers are in a focus spot here after those embarrassing losses. Orlando, they're going to be focused as well. They're still fighting. They're a talented team. It's underperformed this year. They've dealt with injuries this year. Most of their guys are back except Suggs, but they've still been kind of struggling without him. But they just beat Washington, so they have a little bit of momentum from that. They're going to be focused with the Lakers coming into their place. So both teams should be in focus spots here, so I don't want to really deal with it. I'm not going to play it. The Lakers are up from 4 to 4.5 with juice on the road, but they are very public. 90% of tickets and only 82% of the cash, so public is on them and less of the cash is on them, so I don't want to lay the points of the Lakers at all. I don't want to come in and try to fade the reverse injured player sentiment either. With I don't know if that line is indicating LeBron is actually coming back or not. We'll have to check closer to game time to see if he is. It seems like that probably indicates that he is going to be back in this game. So the Lakers might be a little bit slow to start. So I might still lean to the Magic slightly for that reason, but I'm not going to do anything with that game, man. But you just got to pay attention to what's going on there. Brooklyn is returning home from a road trip, I believe. Not a long road trip. Took them to Boston and then Indiana for 2 games. So they didn't really go that far. And it was less than a week. So it's not really one of those long road trip return spots where you've been away for a long time. You've done all this traveling. You have to get back. You're tired from the traveling. And you have like home distractions coming into play. So I don't think it'll be that much of a distraction coming into this game. But they are still coming off playing Boston and Indiana twice, really tough in all 3 of those games, and they're still returning home. So I don't love the spot for Brooklyn in this one. Both of these teams pretty much know they're going to be out of the playoffs here. Dallas, both teams playing out the stretch. Dallas just broke a 4-game loss streak with a win over Detroit. Nice win there that could give them a little bit of momentum, and they're starting a road trip. And when you start a road trip, you usually are focused because you want to start off the road trip on a good note, even though they do have the Knicks tomorrow. But with Dallas, I don't know they'll be looking ahead to anybody, really. And I think ending that losing momentum helps them. So I lean to Dallas in this one. They are up from a 1-point favorite to 1.5-point favorite. That's how bad the Nets are. If this injury-riddled Mavs team is a favorite on the road against them, 86% of tickets, 99% of the cash. I don't know if the cash is accurate, but some line movement has come in, or some money has come in to drive the line up a little bit on Dallas, it looks like. And I agree with it. I like Dallas in that one. Chicago and Denver, this is a spot where I'm like, man, like after what Chicago did the other night, I'm like, I want to fade Chicago after this. Chicago, they wrecked the Lakers, man. You go into the Lakers, and the Lakers did have Luka playing in that game too. There was no LeBron, but Luka played. You go in and you beat Luka and the LA Lakers in their own place by 31 points, I think naturally you're going to be feeling really, really cocky. You're going to be feeling plump and gay, fat and sassy coming into the next game. They do have to go into elevation. It is a 6th road game in a row for them. So it's really not the greatest spot for Chicago. So I'd be looking, all right, I want to face Chicago here, even though, yeah, they're going to get up for Denver and Chicago. They're actually in one of the play-in spots right now, so they do have reason to keep playing so that they remain in one of the play-in spots to try to get into the playoffs. So they do have some motivation for that reason, and I think you're just motivated in general to play Denver. Coming off that game, though, I don't love it, man. But then Denver, I think, might even be in a worse spot because Denver just they upset Houston, and they're returning home from a road trip. So they've been on the road for a week. They went out to the Pacific Coast. They played the Lakers and lost that game. They beat Golden State. They beat Houston to finish the road trip. Lost to Portland, and they were just kind of a sandwich spot between the Lakers and Houston. So probably a bad spot where they just kind of overlooked them. But also Jokic didn't play at all on the road trip. So we got to keep in mind what the personnel is here. So Denver is returning home from a road trip. They have no days off here, returning home from Houston. And they do have Milwaukee up next. So it is possible they overlook Chicago here, man. I mean, Denver, they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, it is a matter of, I think they are trying to play for a home series right now in the playoffs. So that is some motivation for Denver there, making sure they get a home playoff series. But they may overlook Chicago, man. In a back-to-back, third game in 4 days, all in different cities. It's actually a fourth game in 6 days and a sixth game in, a sixth game in 8 days or something like that? Fifth game in 8 days, Fifth game in 8 days and a sixth game in 10 days with only the first and last being in Denver. So this is a brutal scheduling spot for Denver. So I actually probably lean to Chicago in this one, even though it's not a good scheduling spot for them either. I think Chicago's in a letdown spot too, but Chicago's the underdog here. They're in a more desperate spot here as an underdog, and desperate underdogs are kind of ways that you tend to want to look. Denver also will not be getting Jokic back yet in this game. It looks like the news is that he's still not coming back, which is also why the line is as low as it is. It's down from 4 to 3.5 with juice. So some money may have come in on the Bulls here. I'm not going to play the game. Just too much uncertainty. Both teams are in bad spots, but Denver still will be without Jokic in this one, which is very unfortunate. And when he does come back, it might be a fade spot for Denver there. Because when he does come back, it will be the reverse injured player spot, and they have to get used to playing with him again, and it might be a little bit overvalued. Milwaukee is at Phoenix. Milwaukee, a couple of nice wins in a row against the Lakers and the Kings. Now they're continuing a road trip here, so they might be starting to get a little bit tired here, although they have had a day off between each one of these games, but they do have Denver up next, which is maybe a bigger game than this game against Phoenix. Phoenix is the first team they're playing in this span of games here. Phoenix will be the first team since Orlando, I think, back on March 8th. This will be the first team with a losing record that they're playing, so they've faced a gauntlet, which does mean Milwaukee's stepping down in class, but it also means Phoenix is probably the more desperate team here, just trying to hang on to something here. And it might mean Milwaukee might overlook Phoenix a little bit. But then the problem is Phoenix is coming up beating Cleveland. I mean, I don't think Phoenix is going to overlook Milwaukee coming into their place, but they just beat Cleveland and they have Boston up next. So this game is actually sandwiched in between the top two teams in the Eastern Conference, even though Milwaukee is probably like maybe even the third best team in the Eastern Conference, or actually probably the fourth. I would still probably give it to the Knicks, but man, bad spot again for both teams, very unfortunately. So I'm not going to play the game. Suns up from 3 to 3 with juice, 57% of tickets, 80% of the cash coming into them. So some movement on the Suns. That line kind of indicates to me that the Suns also, there must be somebody out from Milwaukee here. Lillard is still out, it looks like. Lillard's not playing, and Giannis is listed as a game-time decision, although he kind of always is. So I don't know what we're going to get in this game. I want to get back to the NBA schedule here. Again, it's a game that's very difficult to gauge for me, so I'm not going to play it. And then my Boston Celtics are playing on a back-to-back. I'm pretty sure. They just beat Portland last night. They're playing a third game in 4 days. They did have a couple of days of rest before that. They're playing a third game in 4 days, all on the road, all in different cities, which isn't that easy, although Celtics are pretty good on the road. They've been good road warriors here, but this looks like a pretty bad spot to me, man. Second of back-to-back. They're probably going to rest some of their guys if I were to guess here. Celtics, they're almost virtually locked into the 2 seed now in the East. Ideally, they'd like to somehow grab that 1 seed, especially with Cleveland having a 4-game loss streak there, but I still don't think the Celtics are going to catch them. Sacramento's lost 2 games in a row at home. I think Sacramento will be the more focused team here. Boston doesn't really have as much of a reason to play. They're at a rest and travel disadvantage. Sacramento should be focused here. So I don't like the Celtics in this spot. They're a small favorite where it looks like the public is probably going to come in on the Celtics. Looks way too easy to lay the points with the Celtics with a small number. It's up from 3.5 to 4 with juice. Very small number. Probably indicating the Celtics are going to be resting somebody. I don't even know who the Celtics have had playing recently, to be honest, because it seems like they don't have their full complement of starters in any of these games. But whatever may be the case, I would lean slightly to grabbing the points with the Kings. I'm not playing any of these NBA games, just too much uncertainty, too much going on. That's going to do it for me, man. My only play is this ugly hockey underdog on the Red Wings, plus 140, Detroit Red Wings. Tower Gang Toad on Twitter, patreon.com/Tower Gang to support the most hilarious offensive podcast in existence. We will be back with you with Tower Gang on Wednesday night, 9:11 p.m. Eastern Tower Time. And if you sign up for the Patreon, you'll get the extended cut of the episode where we go basically an after show. We go long on the episode, and then we do a pre-show as well. You get those, and you'll get to hang out with us in a Telegram, which I am in, not frequently, but I am in there. I try to be, I should be more active in there. I try, but anyway, that's going to do it. Everybody have a good one, and let's have a good day. Let's kick off the week, right? Happy Monday to everyone, and that's going to do it for now. As my camera goes out of focus again because I changed the lighting when I dropped the screen share there, which is a lighter, a brighter color there, a lighter color, whatever. It's going to do it. Peace.